Right, this is an old Bluetooth speaker that my son had, and it broke a long time ago, and he put it in a box of bits. You know, whenever something breaks that's got potential to be turned into something else or fixed, it goes into a box, and then I can dig into it and make things from it or fix them or whatever. And he wasn't bothered by it. You know, he's got his computer that he listens to music on, so it wasn't really something that he needed. However, he is going camping in the next few days, and I thought it would be nice to fix this for him, and so that then they've got some nice tunes and a decent, you know, a decent volume. When I looked at it though, I was like, this has been taken apart before, but not by us, because this is the feet here, and this end is the carry handle with the strap where the strap should have been, and then on this side it's got the feet here and the carry handle bit there. So this has obviously been taken off and, you know, put back on wrong. But basically I'm just going to take off the ends, and then we'll have a look inside, see what the battery state's like, see if I've got a spare battery that will fit. If not, I might have to come up with something else. But yeah, we're just going to take it apart. It may just be the case of sticking this bit back on, because I noticed that there is no charging port in there anymore. It's been pushed straight through. And yeah, we'll just have a look inside and see if it's fixable or if it's, you know, what's going on inside. Okay, I've got my trusty screwdriver. I love this thing. I use it for all of the screwdriving that's a little bit heavier. You know, I've got another one that's very similar for all the like more PCB sort of stuff. Get the obligatory magnets so that we don't lose the screws. I'll only do one side at the moment, and we'll go from there. Okay. It's almost as if that it used to have like 18650 batteries in, but I believe that's probably to fire air to make the sound a little better. Is there anything we can take off here? No. I was hoping we'd be able to separate this out, but we're not going to be able to. Not too easily, but let's start taking this piece apart. It won't reach into that one, so I might actually have to do something by hand. How very rude. Now, I'm doing this video basically to prove that it's... Oh, and it is an 18650 battery. That's even better. That means that we can swap it out. Yeah, I'm making this video so I can show you that it's not like rocket science to do this sort of thing, and even an idiot like myself can do it, so anyone can, kind of thing. Okay, so what I can see, I think this is an 18650 battery. It looks like it, but we will take this off and have a look. Then we got our little circuit board here, and then we got two speakers. To be honest, this was about £10, maybe £15 at the very most. And inside it, I'm pretty impressed, considering how poor some of these can be. Because I'm taking apart these plugs, and they're all the same, as in all the same size, I'm actually going to mark them so I know which one's what. The easiest way to do that is multiple colours of Sharpie. So I'm just going to put a black dot there and a black dot there. I don't need three, obviously, because there's only three things. Right, before I do anything to the 18650 battery, which it definitely is, I'm going to test it, because basically I was told that the battery was dying very, very quickly, but also I'm wondering if it wasn't charging properly, because when he was putting the charging cable in, it wasn't actually always charging because of the charging port basically fell in. So let's get this off without breaking it, yeah, and have a look at where it is. Quoi? Has it completely come off or what? Where would it have been? Yeah, I think it would have been here. Has it stuck to one of the magnets of the speakers? There it is. Now, this is not for any data, so it should only need... Oh, but it might be the whole thing. Hang on. What I need to work out and remember is which one's power, negative and positive on this. And then I'm just going to resolder it on, and then we can try. There's a bit of erosion on the SD card slot, but it's nothing major, and it doesn't matter, he never used it anyway. Let's have a look at everything else. Everything else looks pretty spot on. So I need to remember which one's what on the SD card, on the USB doojit, because I always forget. So I'll be back once I've had a look. Okay, so basically this side, the furthest side here, is positive. Further side, this side is negative. You should be able to see the little feet along here, the little pads. I'll put a little doer up now to show you. But that's what I need to solder onto here next. Something I've just noticed is there is actually data lines and stuff. I assume you possibly would have been able to connect your computer to this as well and play, but I'm not going to worry about that at all. I am literally just going to be wiring the positive and the negative. Okay, so using the macro on my camera, I was able to zoom into that, and a few things I noticed. Gosh, that's small. No. Basically, unfortunately, I'll show you the pictures now, but I don't know how well it comes up. But this side of it has been ripped up. I can't really solder to this anymore. However, the positive is still intact and stuck to the PCB, but the negative and the other side is not. Now, there's negatives all over this board, so that's perfect, and I'm happy with that. But what I might do is do something very unconventional. The actual bit that was left, hang on, the bit that was left has got damage to it as well, and I've possibly got one of these pieces lying around. Sorry, this is obviously this. I just chucked it on the end. I've probably got one of these pieces lying around somewhere. However, I don't know, and I can't be bothered to dig one out and then try and somehow wire stuff to it and then glue it somewhere. So what I've decided to do is something very unconventional. I'm going to stick one of these 12-volt sockets on the part of the case, and then basically just write on it only charge with 5 volts, and then I'll just use my power pack to charge it in future. Super unconventional, probably quite dangerous if you know someone you don't know tries to charge it with 12 volts. Well, it'll just go bang, it'll pop or whatever. But I'm going to do it, number one, because these arrived yesterday from AliExpress. I'm not addicted to it, just don't ask my wife. And it just means it'll be much easier. I can screw this into the shell of the speaker somewhere. I can have the wires connected to the actual positive that's there, and then a ground somewhere else on it. That way I can test the 18650 battery, make sure that that's still working okay. If it's not, then we'll swap it out for a new one, and then this should be fully working again, just a little bit unconventionally. Okay, so the first thing I would like to do is drill a hole in it at the bottom. I'm going to do it here because there's already a little lump there, and it means I can drill without the actual drill slipping. Okay, next we need to wire up this socket. Okay, here's the wire I'm going to be using and the actual connector. I'm going to plop some heat shrink tubing on it. And this is only temporary, as I've said, but you might as well do it okay-ish, even with temporary. And then I'm going to put the wire through the hole, and I'm going to twist it down, just so. Got it like this, hang on. Just so it's hooked over. Do the same with this one, and then it means I can take my time soldering. It's all in the right place, and a little dab of solder on each should be good. Okay, so that took actually a lot longer than I thought because it was a pain in the bum. The socket is bought as a cheap one from China, AliExpress I think, and the threads was messed up on it immediately. Right, I chose this wire by the way because of how floppy it is. Once I've soldered it to the board, I'm going to hot glue it, but it's also going to be moving as I'm connecting it together. Once it's connected together, it shouldn't move around too much. But as soon as it's, I don't want it to break as soon as I do that. Okay, I'm going to start soldering now, and basically I've just followed the wires with my multimeter to find out where positive and negative is, and now I've removed the battery just so I don't accidentally short anything out, etc. I'm going to attempt to put a tiny blob of solder in the two places I need it. If this one will even come up to temperature. Nearly there. I cannot get it to adhere to that one. Right, okay. We're just going to go for it. Right, I have tried a few times to connect this wire to the board, and this wire just seems to be like... I've had it a few times with this exact wire that it seems like almost hydroscopic, but for solder. It just, no matter how hot you get it, the solder just will not adhere to it. So I'm right next to a Arduino at the moment, and it had these in. I'm going to cut the ends off. I'm going to solder them to this and heat shrink it, and then I'm going to attempt to get these to stick to the board. Because just for some reason this wire just sometimes will not. It's like it's got grease in it, and every time, and I know this was originally designed for speakers, but I've used this wire many times in the past, but it just does not seem to want to adhere to anything. So I will remember that in the future and not do it, because this is the second time I've actually had this problem. So yeah, I'm going to just whop a couple of things on here and then we're going to try again. Right, sadly I cannot get this zoomed in well enough for you to see what I'm actually doing. Basically I've followed the positive along to a small resistor, and I'm just going to piggyback off that on the right hand side. No, on the right side, I mean, not right hand side, just to make sure I don't put it the wrong side and then, blow anything. I've also re-unplugged the battery. Right, that was a pain in the butt, and I'm sorry that you could barely see it, but I need to in future bring down my proper soldering iron. Right, let's give it a test. Right, I've plugged the cable into the charging port over here, and I need to now check with the multimeter to see if there's any charge, because the battery has a small amount of charge at the moment, and if it's here then we know that I've wired it up correctly. If it's not, I quit and I go to bed. Yeah, we're perfect. Before I do anything more, I'm going to hot glue this all down so that it can't snap off or anything. Right, now this is the bit that faces out when we put it all down, so I'm trying to make sure there isn't too much stuff overhanging so that it won't all line back up again. That should be okay. I'm going to leave that to dry. Well, cure, dry, cool. I don't know what the word would be in this case. Okay, it's completely dried or whatever, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to just cut this bit off, and I've decided I'm going to put it all back together and then see if it works. I'll try charging it and so on and so on, because the easiest thing for me to do would be to swap out this 18650 battery if there's actual battery problems, but I'd like to check that first. Because the actual charging port was broken, I'm wondering if that was the issue, not the battery. But we'll see. It's not a problem. I'm going to put it all back together and then I'll show you how I'm going to charge it. Okay, I did an absolutely moronic thing, and this is way too close to one of the tubes, so I've had to cut it down, which was a pain. Right, so here it is. Let's see if it turns on. There is a blue light. Okay. Right. Okay, that beeping tells me it's dying. So what we're going to do, I'm going to turn it over. We're going to connect my power pack to it. Okay, and I'm turning the power pack on now. The red light should come on yet. And I'm just going to leave it to charge. Hopefully it will work. If that works and it holds a charge, then I will make a wire that connects from this end, which is like a 12 volt socket, to a 5 volt USB. Okay, it's been charging for literally about 5 minutes and I'm impatient, so I want to just see if it turns on, connect before the battery dies. If that happens, then I know that it was taking a charge and we can start making the next bit. So far it hasn't died. We're just going to quickly put something on, but it's definitely working. There you go. This is really dirty. So will it make any difference? We're bouncing around 23.9. So it's definitely working. It's definitely held a charge. Obviously I can't prove that that's going to hold a charge for a long period of time yet until I fully charge it and fully test it, but we're definitely getting somewhere. Next then we need to use this and a USB lead, a cheap old one. We're going to make this our USB charger then, and that way then it can be left without any problems, because obviously I didn't want to leave the power pack charging it, because you know this is not designed to charge that, but 5 volts to it is, and that I'm positively safe with. And it also means that he'll be able to charge it on the beach where he's going camping, with the power pack that I've set up for him as well, because I've got a decent sized power pack that I've made that will charge this and his battery on his phone multiple times. So yeah, let's get this into a bit more of a usable piece of technology. Okay, so I've ascertained that it definitely charges via my power pack through the wire that I've got there, right? So what I need to do now is make it so that we can have it charging from USB. So all I need to do is splice these two wires together, basically. Now, inside a USB wire, usually there's 4 wires. You've got 2 that I think is white and green, and then you've got a red and a black. It doesn't matter what colour they are, really. Basically, all we're after is the power. So I'm going to whop the end off, and then, yeah, these are very, very cheap. So this is just 2 wires, which is obviously the power cables. There is no data on this one. So let's just take this off. Now, obviously, that's very useful colours. It may be that blue is negative, pink is not. It's positive. That's useful. But we'll have a look and do a test before we wire anything up. Okay, now I would like to check which one's negative, which one's positive. And the easiest way to do this is chuck it into a USB output, and then using a multimeter, put it on the DC, and then we're going to put what we think is the positive on the positive and what we think is the negative on the negative. And we've got 5 point whatever. If it was the wrong way around, and I put my negative on positive, positive on my negative, can you see there's a little minus symbol? So that is how we tell. So now it's a case of just wiring them up like that. So negative to negative, positive to positive. And we're going to use some heat shrink tubing to make it look beautiful. Okay, the first thing I'm going to do is put a big heat shrink tube down the entirety of this one. And then a couple of littler ones, or thinner ones I should say, down these two. And now I'm just going to twist them together. Okay, and I'm just going to solder these the best I can, and then I'll use the heat shrink tube to hold it all together. Okay, now we pull our piece of heat shrink tube over the top. Okay, next we need to leave this to cool down completely. Okay, next we get our bigger piece of heat shrink tubing. We whop that over the top, around there. We do it again. There we go. That is our charging lead. Right, let's have a look if it works. Fingers crossed. This is genuinely always the first time. Whenever I'm on doing a video and refixing something or building something, I always do the first one on camera, because if something explodes, I want it on camera. Right, we're hoping that a light lights up red here. If it does, it's working. If it doesn't, I'll edit one in post. And it does. Can you see that? That means it's charging, boys and girls. So there we go. I've now made it so that it'll charge and everything. The next thing I need to do is a longevity test, and if it is, if the 18650 battery in here is good enough, then I won't have to replace it. But I will test that. If there's no more of this video, then you know I've tested it and it works fine. If there is more of this video, then I've tested it and it doesn't. Thanks so much for watching. Thank you to my patrons, and I hope this helped 1, 2, 5 or 7 of you. See you again soon. Bye for now.